Better Call Saul, Season 6, Episode 8, aired on Monday night, and I'd like to go through it scene by scene and just discuss it. To start things off, we see some shoes and then Howard's car. I do hope he's alright. Afterwards, we go straight into the Lalo confrontation, which is surprising. I definitely thought we would go into the Gene or Breaking Bad timeline, and the show would leave us in suspense for as long as possible, but it certainly doesn't. And Lalo immediately asked him to kill a black man of medium height. Okay, glasses. Wait, how does Lalo know about Walt? No, but to be more serious, I am shocked that this is part of the plan. I never expected Lalo to hand a gun to Saul and be like, LOL, kill Gus. Jimmy responds by immediately suggesting that Kim do it, which I can't blame him. I did the same when Captain Crunch broke into my house and demanded that me and my ex kill Tommy Pickles. Those were some dark days. Lalo says she can't do it because she's too clever, but then caves in immediately. I was surprised about that as well. I thought it would be a back and forth tactical negotiation of Jimmy slowly convincing him, kind of like him and Tuco. I was also wondering, is Jimmy really putting this off on Kim so he doesn't have to shoot someone himself? Or is he trying to save Kim by sending her away? Lalo explains the attempt on his life to Jimmy, and Saul tries to utter the famous Breaking Bad line, "It wasn't me, it was Ignacio." Then gets tied up and starts trying to get out. A cop car pulls up beside Kim. She rolls down the window like she's going to talk to them, but she does not. And before we know it, we are at that famous house. We get some good Breaking Bad music, but before anything can really happen, Mike scoops her up. It makes sense, but I was disappointed that she was picked up that easily. I would have liked it if Mike had opened the door. A very hysterical Kim blames Mike and pulls the gun on him. Then Mike has to talk her down. However, I do think the scene of Mike questioning Kim was drawn out as much as it could have been, in a good way. And it was cool to see Gus's body double. You know, Lalo and Gus really are a match made in heaven. I mean, imagine a spinoff with their doubles, having a hardcore gay BDSM sexual relationship. I mean, just imagine. Mike power walks through the tunnels, and I actually don't like the music too much here. It's too upbeat. To me, it doesn't really match the desperation of the situation. But once Mike gets to Gus, the Breaking Badness of it kicks in, and it sounds great. We go to a scene of guys loading up into a vehicle, and there's one guy left outside talking to the driver. For some reason, I thought I heard someone say, "Hey, dumbass," and the way they were focusing on him, I thought he might randomly get shot, like that one dude from Breaking Bad. Lalo then makes his way into the laundry, as the security guy barely misses him. I know it's a classic movie cliche, but I really don't like it, because when you do it that way, there's no skill involved on the part of the person sneaking in. It relies more on the incompetence of the security. I'd really prefer it if they made Gus's forces smart, and Lalo had to be smarter rather than making the mercenaries dumb and these guys kind of dumb. I mean, if you leave your post, get someone else to watch it. This is a life or death situation on a life or death night. Anyway, after that, Gus fidgets with his clothes, then calls Kim. She tells him that Lalo wanted to send Jimmy, but Jimmy convinced him to send her instead to save her. Gus repeats the word convinced in a way that convinces me, in a very convincing way, that he is not totally convinced. And it's a very convincing performance. Mike and friends roam around doing Mike and friends things. Music kicks in. Classic Breaking Bad this time. And now I really like it. I was also 100% sure that the sniper Mike was talking to would get shot in the back of the head or something. This episode has made me so paranoid. After that, Gus enters the laundry and immediately notices something is wrong. Lalo appears and shoots all of his guys pretty effortlessly. Listen, Gus really needs to hire better people because them getting dominated is not fun to watch. I'd like to see a close game, not a landslide. And from a dramatic standpoint, I really think the shootout should have been drawn out more. Also, I understand Mike is doing other things, but I really think he should have stuck with Gus instead. It would have been nice to have at least one scene with him trying to convince Gus that they needed to stay together. Then Gus can just end up deciding to do his own thing. Anyway, because of all this, Lalo corners Gus. At this point, I stepped away to go get my double cheeseburger I had been saving out of the fridge. I approached the fridge, suddenly remembering with fright that I hadn't seen it in the last few hours, so someone may have eaten the cheeseburger. I opened the door, looked up and down, side to side. I looked outside the fridge in case someone had moved it for some insane reason. Then thought to myself, if I was a burger, where would I be? But alas, it didn't matter. It was no longer there. It was no longer anywhere. I considered waking up everyone in the house, all 5 people, to begin 1 a.m. interrogations of where the burger went. But before I did that, I decided to check one more time. And it was like right there in the corner. I had looked over it. I picked it up and stared at it lovingly. Then decided I wanted a Hot Pocket instead, because I only want what I can't have. We cut back to Jimmy, and he is on the ground, looking quite possibly the hottest he ever has. Mike asked Jimmy about Lalo, where he is, how long he's been gone. Jimmy Jam says he doesn't know. We go back to Lalo and Gus. Lalo starts making a video for Don Eladio, and they take a leisurely stroll around the place. Lalo shoots Gus, and I know they just mentioned that he was wearing a vest, but it still scared me because I wasn't expecting it. Gus opens the entrance to the super lab. Lalo continues to vlog. Then Gus attempts to buy some time by telling Don Eladio and the Salamancas what he thinks of them, saying he's going to bury all of them. Lalo responds by saying that's big talk and asking if he's done yet. Gus replies, "No, not yet." Then kicks the lights, runs to retrieve the gun. They shoot at each other, with Gus continuing to fire even though there's nothing left in the chamber, which I liked because it shows in a very simple way how absolutely terrified Gus is. He spends a few more moments panicking in the darkness, which I liked because it's definitely drawing out the tension for as long as possible. Then he turns on the lights. Gus walks over and stares down at Lalo. Lalo laughs at him, then dies. I'm really surprised he didn't try to get one last zinger in or drop a bomb on Gus like, I have the camera connected to a secondary source and Don Eladio will see all of this. Fucking chicken man. Werner Ziegler. Then he laughs and dies. Or he could tell him that even though he's dead, he's still got some things in store for him. And then he could laugh and die. But, alright, now that I've talked about the positives of the scene, I will say that I'm very disappointed by it. It's a confrontation that we've been building up to for so long. And in my opinion, Lalo goes out way too easily, and the plan goes way too smoothly for Gus. We saw Gus plant a gun in the lab, leading to the expectation on my part that something would go wrong because it's such an obvious plan. In Breaking Bad, Walter made up this nice plan to kill Gus with a bomb under his car, and it didn't work. Before that, Walter went to his house to shoot him, and it didn't work. Walter tried to get Jesse to poison Gus at his house, and it didn't work. So, in Better Call Saul, I expected something like Gus goes for the gun, but Lalo stops him, or Gus gets the gun, but misses every shot due to sheer panic. Then he has to come up with something else, then something else, then maybe another something else. Then they kill Lalo. In short, Gus did win, but it didn't feel earned the same way it did when Walter White won, because Walter failed a lot, then ultimately used Gus's ultimate weakness to his advantage. Gus literally just pointed at Lalo and shot him, while Lalo stood still. Another thing, Gus monologuing for time and telling Lalo, no, not yet, then making his move is very generic action movie type stuff. I don't like it. Moving on, the Chicken Prince Lyle gets a call from Gus. Then Mike tells Gus he's not happy with the way things went down and they could have gone a lot worse. Gus basically says, but they didn't go worse, bro. Then we go over to Mr. Goodman, who's doing real bad, man. Kim comes in and hugs him, while Mike and Gus get him a new refrigerator, and they also examine the body of Mr. Howard Hamlin. At this point, I got up and took a leisurely stroll to think about if I was really as disappointed with the episode as I thought I was, or if I had unrealistic expectations, both due to the break and Breaking Bad. And ultimately, I decided that I really am that disappointed with the Lalo stuff. Like I said, the final confrontation feels sped through, and for the first time in the series, I thought the actress that plays Kim may have not been perfect, acting-wise. In the apartment when she was freaking out, I couldn't tell if she was pretending to be scared or not, which, given the cons they pulled in the past, may have been the intention of the director. But in the past, it's been much more clear. So I'm really not sure what to think. If she was pretending, hopefully we get confirmation on that in the next few episodes. Because if she wasn't, her acting was a little off. In my opinion. I've never acted a day in my life, but I'm just saying. Next, Mike gives Saul and Kim great advice on how to handle things as per usual, while also shaming them for the scheme they are running on Hamlin. Then he goes over to the lab to bury Lalo and Hamlin. Mike gets what he needs from Hamlin's body, and I love this part. The music is just right, and it gives us one more chance to really drink in the devastation of Howard's death. Then the defeated way Mike says go ahead really just wraps the whole thing in a depressing little bow. Overall, just a great, perfectly executed scene. After the credits, we get Saul repeating what Mike told him, that one day they will go on about their day, brush their teeth, and realize they haven't thought about it at all. That is it for this episode. I am very excited to see what the show has for us going forward, since we now have the rest of the season to wrap everything else up. And I want to reiterate that I didn't hate this episode. I was just disappointed, and I'll see you next week.
It's been a year, Daddy. I really, really miss you.
You are done!